85 years ago, with war raging in Europe, what was billed as a pro-American event in New York City was actually a Nazi rally that drew 20,000 people to Madison Square Garden.
Last night, a similar number of people packed the same venue where Donald Trump and some of his strongest supporters delivered a very nationalistic and sometimes overtly racist message in a rally that the former president's critics say echoes the pro-Nazi event of 1939.
One speaker, the former top White House aide to Trump, said America is for Americans only. Former New York City mayor and Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani claimed that Palestinian children are taught to kill Americans by age 2. And what is being billed as the closing argument of the campaign, as for Trump himself, he pledged to deport, quote, vicious and bloodthirsty immigrants, saying they have invaded and conquered American cities. The evening was dominated by insults and recriminations.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
She is the devil, whoever screamed that out. She is the Antichrist.
Her and her pimp handlers will destroy our country. We need to slaughter this other people.
Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz said Trump's rally was a, quote, direct parallel to the 1939 Nazi rally. And he described comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who told disparaging jokes about Puerto Rico and Latinos, as a, quote, jackwad. A spokeswoman for Trump's campaign says the comedian's remarks do not reflect the former president's views.
But Hinchcliffe defended his jokes on social media, writing in part, quote, these people have no sense of humor. Wild that a vice presidential candidate would take time out of her busy schedule to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist.
Minutes after the Trump rally, Puerto Rican musical artist Bad Bunny announcing his endorsement of Harris. He was especially offended by that comedian's remarks about his homeland. Other influential Puerto Rican celebrities, including Ricky Martin and Jennifer Lopez, also speaking out after Trump's rally. Vice President Harris has courted Latino and black voters in Philadelphia yesterday as she began a final blitz through the 7 battleground states that could sway the election.
On Tuesday, Harris plans to address the nation really, from the National Mall in Washington, where she will try to sum up her candidacy a week before Election Day.
Over the weekend, Harris held large rallies in Michigan and in Texas, where she was joined by pop superstar Beyonce. At Harris's rally in Michigan this weekend, former First Lady Michelle Obama said electing Trump would have dire consequences for women. Obama asked male voters to support Harris as she described the sometimes tragic impacts of the Supreme Court's 2022 decision overturning the constitutional right to abortion. And she sought to mobilize traditionally Democratic voters to turn out at the polls for Harris.
The real question is, as a country, are we ready for this moment? Are we willing to do what it takes to get her across the finish line, or are we going to let ourselves get distracted and fall for the scam?
Joining us now, Steve Schmidt, Scripps News contributor and founder of The Warning podcast and newsletter. Steve, always good to see you, and as always, no shortage of things to get to. New York Times describes it this way: a vivid and at times racist display of the dark energy animating the MAGA movement. A comic kicked off the rally by dismissing Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage, then mocked Hispanics as failing to use birth control, Jews as cheap, and Palestinians as rock throwers, and called out a black man in the audience with a reference to a watermelon. Another speaker likened Harris to a prostitute, as you heard there, with, quote, pimp handlers. A third called her the Antichrist. And Tucker Carlson mocked up what he described as a made-up ethnicity, saying she was vying to become the first Samoan, Malaysian, low-IQ former California prosecutor ever to be elected president. Some of that language tracks with other themes of the campaign and other language used at times. I'm wondering then, as a political strategy, what do they think works in that kind of language and that kind of humor?
What Donald Trump's political strategy is very simple. It's the fanaticism of a minority, and you saw those people yesterday in Madison Square Garden, plus the indifference of a majority to give him 50.1% of the vote. That is the strategy. So indifference is a big part of Donald Trump's plan. that people out there look at these two. Many have questions about Kamala Harris. They don't like the campaign, and they say, we don't like either one of these candidates, therefore I'm going to stay home. But if you watched what happened last night in New York City, it was a disturbing, vivid spectacle of what's on the line. That was a fascist rally. Now, the predicate rally to this that we're talking about in February of 1939 on the edge of World War II is a much lesser event. It was a fringe event. The headline speaker there was a man named Fritz Kuhn, the American Führer. Donald Trump is the former president of the United States. Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, the MAGA nominee for president of the United States. And the rally that took place in Madison Square Garden should frighten, and chill to the bone every patriotic American who is in touch at any level with the ideas and the ideals of the United States of America, which are about liberty and about freedom. And what played out last night was fascistic threats. It was un-American. It was despicable. It was repugnant. And it was disqualifying.
That last word's interesting because I think one of the defining elements of the Trump era of American politics is that nothing is disqualifying. This was a nation outraged by a tan suit. And now convictions and indictments and insurrections and this kind of language is fine. So it doesn't appear to be disqualifying for a sizable swath of the country. But in a race where they're battling over these alleged undecided voters or these swing counties in battleground states, how does the average voter in a Pennsylvania, a Michigan, an Arizona, a North Carolina take what happened last night? Does it move the needle? You may hate what you heard last night or loved it. The last poll I saw from the Times, 48-48, as tight as it's been in decades in this country. What do you make of the race? And more importantly, what does it say about the country?
Well, it should move the needle. Specifically, it should move the needle of Puerto Rican voters in the state of Florida. Could really jeopardize the reelection prospects of Rick Scott, for example, who was very quick in the aftermath to put out a tweet saying, I love Puerto Rico. In the fall of 1940 in Des Moines, Iowa, several months after the Bund rally in Madison Square Garden, Charles Lindbergh gave a speech where he denounced the Jews. And he blamed the Jews for the war that was breaking out in Europe. And the country was revulsed by it. I think normal, everyday, patriotic Americans who feel a sense of pride when the flag comes by, who get a tinge, a tear when they hear our national anthem surrounded by other Americans, I think they're going to be repulsed by this. America is for Americans isn't just a nationalistic statement or a jingoistic statement. It's a Nazi statement. We are a nation of immigrants. And last night, Donald Trump Jr. screaming, the king is back. We don't have kings in America, Jr. Laura Trump saying Donald Trump built the skyline of New York City. No, Lara. Immigrants built the skyline of New York City. Immigrants like my grandparents from Ireland. Shame on all of you. So I think the American people, who are good people, who are decent people, will look at this and be revolted. The reality is we focus on politics all day, every minute. Most people don't have time for all this nonsense. But the hour of decision is coming close. And every American who understands who the good guys were in World War II and who the bad guys were should appreciate that that was a bad guy rally last night. When you look at Lee Greenwood there saluting his leader, Lee Greenwood never served in the military. He had a medical deferment. Why does Lee Greenwood have a fetish to salute this man, to militarize him? When you look at the crowd behind him, the things that they cheered for were evil last night. And this is not an evil country. Behind me are the Life magazines that tell part of the story of the 20th century. What Donald Trump preached last night was a gospel of fascism. And that's a faith that killed 100 million people by the time you get to the middle of the 20th century. And it's being cheered in Madison Square Garden. And I have faith that the American people will say, no, no way, 8 days from now.
Just to be clear, 20 seconds left here. Are you standing by your prediction that we talked about a few weeks ago that Harris will win this election? Has that confidence lessened in any way?
This campaign tries my faith several times a day, but I believe, because I have faith in the country, in our history, Kamala Harris will be elected 47th President of the United States and avert a catastrophe that is hard for me to describe or to overstate. You watched last night. You're going to appreciate what's barreling down the train tracks at this country. And in the end, I'm not a psychic, but I think the American people, all of us will say, no way.
Even if Trump loses, and who knows, we know it's incredibly tight, but both sides now getting ready for legal battles in all those battleground states. And after we saw what happened a couple of years ago, you can't rule out violence. Donald Trump survived an assassination. We saw January 6th. Starting November 6th, particularly if Trump loses, in terms of the legal battle and a federal judiciary that has been unpredictable in recent years, including, of course, the Supremes, plus the potential violence. Are you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you on that? It ain't over Tuesday night.
It is not over on Tuesday night. We will be in a crisis the second it becomes clear that Kamala Harris has won, because Donald Trump will not concede the election. He's made that clear. He wouldn't concede it last time. There will be violence. They are better prepared this time. I cannot overstate how essential it is for the continuity of the republic that Hakeem Jeffries be holding the gavel in the speaker's chair on January 6th. It looks like that will be the case when you look at these races. We focus all the time on the presidential race at the expense of the House and the Senate. But these elections, including what happens in the state legislative chambers, are going to play a big role. The federal judiciary, as you said, from a decision basis, when it comes to these election issues, is certainly compromised. And the reality is the American people will soon be faced with the prospect of somebody who lost an election, maybe, demanding that I become the most powerful person in the world because they're too petulant to accept the result, like every other defeated presidential candidate. I am the person who placed the phone call for John McCain to Barack Obama, and it was my honor to do so, to play a small role in that chain of continuity that Donald Trump broke. This is coming, and it will be one of the most serious crises in American history should she win in a narrow election. But whether she wins narrowly or in a landslide, the winner is the winner, and Donald Trump has no right to try to take power in this country illegitimately, no matter how many people on cable news stations twist the events to suit his needs, or how many people in the country want to cashier democracy to make him the dictator. It doesn't matter. The answer is still no. This is a free country, and 8 days from now, the American people have to vote in a referendum. Do we keep going as we approach the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, or do we put it in the garbage can?